Let me go on. Good evening. I was waiting for it to pop up on Instagram. Hello out there. I'm Michelle Williams, and if most of you all know who I am, but if you happen to be new to my channel, which I am running for state representative in House District 127. And you're probably saying, well, where in the heck is 127? And this camera is moving around. So 127, District 127 is by Intercontinental Airport, Aldine Westfield. I'm going east, Humble, Atascocita, Huffman, and Kingwood. That is House District 127. And I'm running for state representative. If you don't know me, I am a teacher who is currently on administrative leave because I have been fighting HISD in this takeover for the last 3 years, protecting our children's right to a free and appropriate education. So if you want to support me, you can support me by going to michelleforstaterep.com. We need volunteers and donations because campaigns do not run on their own. It takes people to drive the message and to get all of the people out to vote so that we can save our public schools, because they're playing monopoly with our students and your children's education. And that's why I'm on here tonight. You all can expect me to come on once a week. I am a live streamer. I love live streaming and video. I have a master's degree in curriculum instruction and technology. So this is my mode of communication for those that do not know me, so you can get to know me. That's why I don't come on here. I just have a t-shirt because I am a teacher and I'm just like you all. When I go to Austin, I expect to take all of you all with me, listen to your concerns, and because our schools are depending on it, and we don't have another election. So that's there for you to check out at your leisure. And if you would like to be a part of this grassroots campaign, I'd love to have you. So without further ado, so tonight's topic is about Governor Abbott says that the state can afford to eliminate school property taxes on homesteads while fully funding public education. And if you're interested in this article, it's on CBS News. And I'm just going to break down some of the math behind it. The math is flawed. And then I'm going to tell you what ChatGPT said about his plan. I'm going to give you my breakdown of it, and I'm going to give you what ChatGPT says. And you should do that because you can look it up on Gemini. All you have to do is copy and paste the title of the article, and it asks the pros and the cons, or will the plan work? And it's going to tell you whether or not it'll work, or if it doesn't, so that you can come up with a plan idea about what he's proposing. Now, first of all, the issue that I have with this whole thing with eliminating property taxes, he's not talking about eliminating property taxes. He's talking about eliminating school taxes. There's a difference, because I can tell you, when I go to HCAD and I look at my property tax statement, school taxes aren't the only thing that's on there. You have that horrible mud tax, which I am tired of paying, and I'm going to talk about that. We have Lone Star College because we pay taxes. We have the Port of Houston, and we have some other things on our property tax statement. So this is propaganda when he says we can eliminate property taxes. No, he's specifically talking about school taxes because what he is proposing is to defund public education. So there's not any way that his plan is going to work. So I'm going to tell you why. So it says the governor is proposing a cap, appraisal cap growth of 3% on all appraisal properties once every 5 years. That's not going to work. So in the article and even in the interview, the person that was interviewing him said, it didn't work in California. He said in California it was a false narrative. So this governor is just like the current president. He says that tariffs work. So now you have the governor spewing propaganda about what didn't work in California. Experts have said that it did not work. And I do agree that there needs to be something done because my house, I bought this house over 20 years ago, and they tried to appraise my little house at $193,000. So I do agree that there needs to be some relief for property owners, just like myself. I'm a property owner and I'm dealing with the same issues. So he says that he's going to cap it at 3% and appraisal. And then there was one more thing on here. He said, at first he was saying, now watch how he plays word salad. One day the salad is tossed this way, and the next day he's saying something else. At first he said he was going to eliminate property taxes. That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about eliminating school taxes. And then he says that we can afford this with the budget surplus. That's not going to happen. In a previous live stream, I talked about how the top 2 largest school districts in the state of Texas, HISD collects $2 billion in property taxes, because the state does not fund HISD. And see, he's not telling you all that. I'm telling you, and you can check it out. I posted HISD's budget. Also, in your school districts, the budget is a matter of public record. You can go ask your school district for it, or it should be posted online so that the community can see this. So you can go to any of your school districts and ask for their budget, and they should be able to tell you where the budget is located on their website. So HISD collects $2 billion. Dallas ISD collects $1.4 billion. So we're looking at $3.4 billion, give or take some money, because HISD, the $2 billion that they collect, $1 billion is for teachers' salaries and benefits. So that's some little math. I don't want you all to gloss over with that. But he's talking about capping it and then replacing it with the budget surplus. But what you should be paying attention to, how did Texas get the budget surplus? Because the economy is not doing well. And I've seen this in Louisiana. I worked in Louisiana for almost 5 years. And they said that the lottery money was supposed to pay for schools. It doesn't happen like that. Property taxes, I'm not saying that it is the best way to generate funds, but there is no foolproof plan that is going to work. And I'm going to now tell you what ChatGPT says about Governor Abbott's plan. So it says that many analysts says it's unlikely to work long term or as cleanly. See, that's the propaganda, as cleanly as promised, because you can't believe it. So the core problem in Texas's public schools, especially local school districts, rely heavily on property taxes for operating revenue, not just for nice to haves. Oh, this is nice to have. No. Case in point, Dallas ISD, their payroll is 1.4 billion, which is equal to the 1.4 billion that they collect in property taxes. Keep that in mind. In many districts, that revenue represents a large share of the budget. It's your salaries and benefits for your employees. That's the lion's share that it represents. And if you're a teacher watching this live or watching it on the replay, you have to understand he's talking about eliminating the funding source to your paychecks. That's what he's talking about. Because you don't have to rely on what I'm saying. Do a search on the internet. What percentage of schools' budgets are salaries and benefits? And I can tell you what the percentage is, and it's over 50%. So here it goes on to say eliminating school property taxes statewide means the state would have to replace tens of billions of dollars in local revenue. Several policy analysis plans from think tanks that favor such reforms estimate it could take over a decade of strict state spending. Strict state spending. The schools as you know it, because some of you all, the data says that over half of Texans are happy with their public schools. So the schools as you know it, if this should happen, strict spending. Remember that. Plus consistently high revenue growth to gradually replace local tax revenue with state funding. And the current economy, it does not set it up to where we can rely on that. So then it goes further and say, but under Abbott's plan, there's no detailed, credible roadmap. So you have to be careful about people telling you, oh no, we can do this. But there's no details. There's just an overview. We can do this and we can replace it with this. There's not any overview of that. So critics argue that the pledging to fully fund, air quotes, education without naming a stable revenue source, for example, a statewide tax increase or a major budget restructuring, is risky. It's not just risky, it's not going to happen. Because he's making promises. You have $5 billion that, well, I think it was five, that he gave away to privatize public education. Based on what we know about vouchers, that's not set in stone. It is anticipated that it is going to grow. So now you're saying, oh, we're going to give this money away and we're going to fund privatization of public schools. And then we're going to fund charter schools. There's no money trees around here. And The last bullet is some fear if the state budget weakens economic downturn, which we are in. Look at the numbers for job growth. A lot of your small businesses have cut a lot of their positions due to the tariffs, and your larger corporations are not hiring. And a lot of them with AI, they're laying off. So the economic downturn is actually happening. And what people are not watching is that the foreclosure rates are slowly increasing. And that's what people are not watching. That happened in 2008. So because we had a lot of federal employees lose their jobs, a lot of them are um, defaulting on their mortgages, and that's to be expected. So this is not a good plan. It's not. First of all, it's not feasible, it's not sound, and there are not any money trees. He's like the president says he has a concepts of a plan. That's his concept. Oh, we're going to cap the appraisals at 3.5% every 5 years. That's not going to work. Oh, we're going to use the budget surplus. So you're going to use all the budget surplus? That's not going to work either, because it's that's like basing it on the stock market. The stock market is volatile at times and it fluctuates. So that's not going to work either. And they said some fear that if the state budget weakens, economic downturn, drop in revenues, unexpected costs, school funding could be cut, or local school districts might be forced to raise other taxes or fees to stay afloat. And that is a real concern. So in the article and in the interview, he talks about how he's tired of the naysayers. And that's funny, because the appointed superintendent, he deemed us as the naysayers. And we're not naysayers. We don't buy or subscribe to propaganda. And that's what this is. This is propaganda. So in ChatGPT, they gave another side of it. They said, what must happen or be true, end quote, for the plan to be feasible? So the state must commit tens of billions of dollars in stable, reoccurring revenue to replace lost local tax revenue. Not just one time, because they're good for that. There's like, oh, we're going to give teachers a raise. And that's another thing. They committed this $5,000 raise. That has to be paid because they wrote it into law. But that doesn't mean much, because they break their own laws all the time and repeal them. The state must commit tens of billions of dollars in stable, recurring revenue to replace lost local tax revenue, not just one-time surpluses. The legislature and local governments must impose strict spending controls and avoid increasing other property tax fees or shifting the costs. Oh, that's coming. Enrollment growth, inflation, and increasing costs, teacher pay, maintenance, school services must be accounted for. You haven't heard the governor talk about that at all. And there must be political will and discipline over many budget cycles, including during economic downturns. Without these, experts warn the plan would either lead to underfunded schools or force taxes, fees in other areas. We already have an 8.25% sales tax. What are they going to increase it to 10, 12? There's no free ride. And like I have said before, I'm not saying we don't need property tax relief, but if the state of Texas would just pay for schools, we wouldn't be in this situation. And what they can do is stop coming up with Ponzi schemes and just fully fund public education. That is all parents are asking for. That's all the teachers are asking for. And now you have the children asking for funding because all of their programs are being cut. Everything that we're supposed to educate our future adults and future voters, they're being cut and it's being replaced with test prep. These children are going to be masters at taking multiple choice tests. I was at a Christmas party yesterday and I was telling them how I was at Burger King and I had cash and I didn't want like the 90 cent in change. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to give him 11 cents. And the cashier, and it was so sad, the cashier was holding it like he didn't even know what to do to put it into the register. So I had to coax the baby I said, hey, I forgot. They don't teach you all that in school. I said, I teach math to kind of take the anxiety away, thinking, because if their TL comes up short, they're definitely going to get fired. So I said, hey, just punch it in there as I gave it to you. And I promise it's going to be $11 and change. So they had this guy standing next to me and he started laughing because it's a sad situation. This child is working at Burger King, so he had to be 15, 16 years old, maybe older. And when it came up on the register, like, I was like, see, I told you. And that's a sad reality. We have children out here who do not have the basic skills to function in life. And we're over here teaching them how to be master test takers. And they're going out into the world and can't punch dollars and cents into a cash register. So again, so if you're interested in being a part of my campaign is all about public education, supporting our communities and schools. What people don't understand, when you destroy the public school system, you're essentially destroying your own community. And that's why it's very heartbreaking to see and hear people who don't even have children in the public school system say that they want the public school system to close down. Where do you think the community goes when things are happening? On Friday nights, I know Spring High School, when during football season down the street from my house, they're at the stadium. And basketball games, and then you have track meets. Charter schools can't fulfill that role because charter schools are not pouring into the community. What they do is subtract from the community because they're taking children from everywhere and dumping them into an area that they don't have community support. And my goal is to strengthen public education. I have been fighting for my students for a very long time over the course of my 26 years of teaching. And the education that we are currently providing for children is not the education that they need. So if you would like to support my campaign, you can go to michelleforstaterep.com. It's right there on the screen. And if you would like to volunteer, phone banking, block walking, it's cold right now, so we're going to be gearing up with block walking. Phone banking. So if you can give some time, it will be greatly appreciated, and it won't be time wasted, but time well spent. So thank you all for tuning in. And I hope to see you all out on the campaign trail. If you have any comments, leave comments in the comment section. And I will see you all in my next live stream. Bye-bye.